It's Jared from Strongrootsfarmoh Farm. We're back with another cattle video, and today we're talking water troughs. You're rotationally grazing. What is the best water trough for rotational grazing? So in today's video, I will cover that. I will show you it, and I will also show you the build. We're gonna build one today, and I'm also gonna go over some of the stuff that didn't work so well that I thought would have been better. So we're gonna get into it. I'll show you some helpful hits. Everything will be down in the description. I will try to find the best price for you. Stick around. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. We are going to show you the best watering trough for rotational grazing, and it is right there. This is a Rubbermaid tote with a Jobe Magaflow. Now we are going to go through the build. I'm going to show you some fittings and show you what makes it the best, I think. But the first thing is the trough, and I'm not sponsored by Rubbermaid, and I don't get anything from them. I just really like their troughs. They seem to be very good. But honestly, there's a lot of other good ones out there. So whether it's a discounted one from Rural King, Home Depot, wherever you would find something, that is not the key in this. The key is the valve system that fills their water. But there's some things that I've tried that just didn't work out so well. Like this Rubbermaid waterer. This is from them. It bolts onto their totes, onto their troughs. I thought this would work really well. It's pretty hard. It secures well versus those screw-in cheap types that you see. The downfall of this is everything is plastic. Plastic threads, and the water hose is up top where the cattle's mouth is. So the cows could hit this, and they busted this off, and it ran all night long. Sorry, but this is junk. It only lasted 6 months. Swoosh. The best one is this Jobe, right? And I'll show you during the installation, but this has a ball that, when it fills up, pulls up on that lever, as you can see it moving down there, and shuts that water off. It fills my trough to the correct level all the time. It doesn't leak. And let's get to building this thing. I'm gonna use this drain port. I'm not gonna insert my new water into this because I like to have an empty valve, okay? I like to be able to drain this without that. So water will not backflow through those. So I'm gonna make a separate hole. The other reason why is I like to put these on a fence line. So if I put them on a fence line like this, I have less animals that can get around it, right? So only 2. Whereas if I put it like this and my fence is here, I maybe could get 3. And it sticks out a little further from my electric fence. I literally have my single strand wire go right over this. And the reason is I'll have my hose connection on the backside. They can never step on my water hoses. Okay, so we're simply gonna take our hole saw and drill us a hole. This is an 1¼ inch bit. This is inch thread, so I just want a slight bit larger. You can see that just barely fits in there, but it has plenty of nut and washer here that will hold that. And so this is a Craftsman bit. I think Lennox actually makes these. We're gonna come to the middle of the lower ring, directly in the center, which is on the flattest spot there is here. And we're gonna drill this hole. Now you can take some sandpaper or a utility knife and just kind of scrape those burrs off. It's not a big deal. Next, we're gonna insert our Jobe into this. And the way I'm gonna do this is leave the washer on the inside of the tank. So I take this nut off, if I can get it off there. I'm gonna put this in that hole on the inside and come to the out and then tighten this nut back down. I didn't go crazy with that. You saw me maybe use a pair of pliers there. I just simply tightened this nut enough. You will bust these. Do not crank on them. But I did maybe a 1/2 turn, 1/4 turn more than what I could do with my hands. And I started watching that rubber washer on the inside, which we'll see in a second when we're done, and made sure it was squishing down. I've never once had these leak. I've never once had them break off. But at times I have seen them wear a little bit, and they'll twist inside. And so when they start doing that, I'll put them back up straight and I'll give this another 1/4 to a 1/2 turn. But that took a year before that happened. So got this installed. Now we're gonna go on to the next piece. Next, on this thread, you can simply put your hose, garden hose, quick connector if you want, but I choose to put a plunger valve, okay? Get these at Home Depot, Lowe's, wherever hardware store. This is a 3/4 inch threaded plunger valve. okay? Open this up, it turns on. I typically make this stick up, and I go ahead and put my garden hose quick connector on it. So when I do this, so the reason I do this is I was worried about if I unhooked a water hose in the system that we do. I told you I put this hydrant or this trough on the fence line. We let the cows through, I unhook the water hose, I simply shift my line over a few feet to the other side of this trough, and this has water in it. So to save on water, I'm not draining this. I just leave it for the cows in the next paddock. So I'm always putting the water trough, the next water trough, on the line against the next paddock we're going into. So this will stay where it was, but the cows can come back to this at the line and drink, and hopefully they'll drink this down and I'll come back and be empty and we don't waste any water. And then the next one is also filling up. So there's 2 watering points essentially in each paddock until they drink this gone. But in order to keep that water from running out, backflowing out, I put this valve on and I crank this down and unhook my hose, and I put my hose on my next trough, which is the exact same thing. Okay, so I've connected my quick connector to here first just because it's easier than when it's on there. You may notice I've put Teflon tape on this because this is gonna live on there and stay on there and I don't want it to leak. I recommend Blue Monster. And unfortunately, I'm using the cheap stuff because I left my Blue Monster at a job in town that I'm doing. So today, we're just using normal Teflon tape. Now, once again, I'll let you see it here, but don't crank these down. They are plastic, you can break them. I think I went 1 whole complete turn with the pliers after I used my hands, and I'm listening and I'm feeling it. And that Teflon tape helps that to get lubed kind of as you're putting it on. It also gives you kind of a gasket material in the threads, even though that's really not what it's technically for. It's to help that go on evenly and smoothly, okay? Now, what we're gonna do is set our bulb valve in the inside of this. So I'll drop this down, we'll look at that. All right, so before I drop the camera down, it's gonna be hard for you to see me tying a little string, right? So we have a little hole here. It comes with a string that is on there, okay? We are gonna put this at the top level that we think we want our water, even though the water will settle somewhere about in here when it shuts it off. But I use this as a gauge when I'm putting that string, because that string does lose tension over time. The way I'm gonna tie it, I'm gonna stick my string through the hole this way, go back around and back through the hole again, and then I will tie my knot tight here. I don't tie lock knots where it's gonna be really hard to get undone, like your kids who tied their shoes too tight and they can't get their shoes untied. I don't tie a slip knot and I don't tie a bow knot either though. I do get a decent knot in here. These can come off. And as you move these, you're gonna wanna check these things. Give them a tug every now and then and just make sure that that knot is good and tight, because if this pops off, your water's running all the time. Get that all set. That's pretty much it. We've got it locked in place now. We'll put these out. We throw them into the back of the gator. Throw your hose down in there if you want, or if you have a hose trailer like we do. If you don't, look back a couple of videos when we talked about paddock sizing and moving paddocks. You'll see that hose trailer and how we move our water hose for this. All right, we'll go into some tips and tricks and some other things that we have that will help you with watering here in a second. But first I want to talk about sizing, okay? So this is a 265 liter tank. I think it's 55 gallons or whatever, 75 maybe. Do the math, not from Australia. So whatever this is, most people will tell you, or I've seen a lot in books, 1 cattle head per 10 cows. Now, I'm not disagreeing with Jim Garrish or Joel Salton, whoever I read that from, but here's what I found. As a small farmer, homesteader size, right, we have 30 acres. We have had up to 78 head on one of these. So let's just say, I think this is 75 gallons actually. 75, 78 head on a 75 gallon thing. How can we do that? And the reason is we're small, right? So our cattle are never very far away. The most they're away is 400 feet. just over a football field away from this at any given time. So they don't leave the herd necessarily to get a drink. And you'll see when you do that, they'll come one or two at a time usually. They don't come back as a large group. Whereas if you're a large farmer, you have 200-300 head, and they are going a quarter mile away from the water, they will come back in a herd size group. Maybe not necessarily the entire herd, but a group of 10, 15, 20, 30 at a time. And then they'll try to compete over head space for their water. In that instance, I think that ratio is good. But if you're a small farmer, you can get away with a 50 gallon. You can take a 55 gallon drum and cut it in half actually, have 25 gallons, and it would still work in this same scenario. You can use an IBC tote and cut it 2 feet deep. It will work in this scenario. You do not need to have that many head spaces if you're in that 20, 30, 40 range of cattle, because they don't walk that far away. Now, if they do, if you have them trucking a long way to get to their water, I would respect that ratio. The thing is, you might have noticed we have some blue painter's tape on here, and that is because this is also where we do our fly prevention, okay? So we have this large fly tape. I'll have it down in the description. I find if you buy a case of it, it's the cheapest, which is what our Amazon affiliate link will be for. That is how we buy it. On 40 head, I use about a case of this, maybe a half a case a year. So we'll take blue painter's tape, and I'll simply wrap this all the way around the top of this, and I tape it down every foot to 16 inches or so, and we leave it on it. And sometimes it'll last 2, 3, 4 days. And sometimes if you have a large fly infestation, if you get to a spot where, hey, the flies are just bad right now, we'll throw this up and it will literally cut those in half in one day. We don't use this every day. We wait and see what the flies are doing. Sometimes we move fast enough. Sometimes the chickens are helping us. But if you have a fly issue, right here on your water is where you want to put this stuff. 0 chemicals, 0 pesticides, any of that. But this will knock your flies out. When they come back, they shake their head, they land on this green tape, and the flies are gone. Just to give you a few helpful hints of things we do on our farm, we use air hose as our water lines. It's smaller, it lets less volume through fast. So if you have a bunch of cattle coming, they can drink it faster than this can fill it, but we rarely have them drink it down. But we do try to keep this full all the time. And if you're constantly moving water, this is a great size. It's also a little more durable. It's rated at a higher pressure. It's easier to clamp because of the rubberness and how thick it is. It's easier to clamp and not have leaks on your fittings. And if they would happen to step on it, it lasts a lot longer than a garden hose. But the main reason we use this is because it's so much smaller in diameter than a traditional garden hose that I can get more linear feet on a hose reel, which we have on our cart. So instead of 100 foot on my reel, which is what it was rated for, I get 175 feet on the hose reel of this stuff, which means I can go so much further and not have to move that cart. If I didn't mention, that is Parker 350 PSI airline. I also use Goodyear. I'm not loyal to one brand or another, but that's what we use, is air hose line meant for an air compressor. The other thing we use a lot of is quick connects, okay? So I'm sold on this quick connects. You may say, hey, it's 10 seconds. How hard is that to really hook up a water hose? It's not, and you're right, it is only 10 seconds, but it does add up over time. We're looking at minutes. How quick can we get through our farm chores? These things save us a bunch of time. So we have the male on all of our fittings here and all of the entrances of our water hose to our hydrants, and the females go up on our hydrants. They live out there all the time. We never take them off until they start leaking or they crack or they bust, and then we carry some in our bucket with our gator all the time. I've went through about 10 brands of these though, okay? I've tried the Amazon specials, I've tried some high-end ones, and I've settled on these. Now, I will tell you, these are not perfect. None of these are great. But the one thing I like about this, which I'll have down in the description, is that there's no rubber O-ring in here. Some of the other ones have a rubber O-ring. They work great when I first bought them. But 3-4 months in, those O-rings bust off, the dry rot, they move, you poke them, you're dragging them. And so I prefer this brand. They don't last forever. Sorry if I hit that mic. They don't last forever, and they do have rubber washers in them that will also go bad. But for the price, it's kind of what I've landed on. The best ones. If you want the best, the top notch, and money is no object to you, hydraulic line fittings like you would use on a disc or a hydraulic lifter on the back of a tractor, You can buy those brand new, and they're brass or they're stainless, and you can use those for water hose connectings. They will not leak. If they hold hydraulic oil, they will hold water. They never leak, they last a long time, they're tough as nails, and you'll use them for decades. But they're like 30 bucks a piece for one side. So it's like 60 bucks for each connection, whereas these are 5 bucks for a pair of them, right? So in the long run, yeah, it's not the best thing, but price-wise, this is where we've landed. They're down in the description. Since I've often had questions about how do you hook air hose into garden hose? How do you make those adapters? You can buy garden hose thread, male or female, to NPT thread, which is National Pipe Thread, which is what these barb fittings are for your air hose line. So this is NPT thread here on the end. This goes like this becomes garden hose, this becomes barb into your air hose, and I use stainless steel clamps or my air hose line clamps. I have special clamps, but you need a special tool. Just go ahead and use stainless steel hose clamp. Well, there you have it. That is the best water trough automatic water that we use on our farm that I have found in 15 years. They don't leak. They stop every time. We rarely have issues with them. The string is the one thing I'm telling you to check. Use Teflon tape, and these will last a long, long time. Do not let the cattle put their foot near that valve though. I keep that valve underneath the fence so that the cattle can't step on them and step on the hose. If they get their foot wrapped around a water hose and pull it off, that's where I've seen people have issues with these. But this is the best thing. I even like these more than my automatic waters, the big $600 things that I have here on the farm. I prefer these. A lot of people will say, why would you prefer that if you could afford a big expensive one? It's because I can move it. I can move it to different locations and we never end up muddying up one specific area. Whereas if you have an automatic water that is always in the same location, we end up putting rock around it because they just always come back to one location. Now those are nice because they're frost free, they don't freeze ever. So up around our barns, we have those that never freeze, and I've installed those. But when it's not ice time and I'm going through the pasture, this is what I like to use. This is the best thing in my opinion. Appreciate everybody watching. Comment down below, tell us what you think. Let us know if you disagree or you found something that works better for you. I'm always interested in learning new things and growing. That's what our channel's about. But if you wanted to see how we do this, how this works, price-wise, I guess I didn't talk price. A trough is usually $1.50 a gallon. So 55 gallons is gonna cost you 75 to 100 bucks. Find them on Marketplace. People are giving these away all the time, especially after graduation time. In May, people buy these just for a graduation party, and then they're like, now what do I do with these things? I've bought a bunch of them in that very instance. And then of course, everything else, I think the Jobe, Waterflow, Magaflow, you're looking at 40 to 60 bucks, depending on the time of the year and where you buy it and what the deals are right now. Links down in the description. I'll look for the best price for you. Quick connectors are down there as well. All of these things can help you. Please don't get mad at me on the quick connectors. If you find another brand that you like, please keep using that. This is just the best one I have found, and I've trialed a bunch of. If you want to see this thing in action, just stick around to our channel. It gets used every day that we do a move, every video that we have. These waters are going to be in there. You're going to see them all summer long. Like and subscribe. Come along with us, and you'll see how we use these. Thanks for watching. Until next time.